In this module and this point in the dialogue, the discussants return to looking at candidate theories of knowledge. Now you might, in light of what we discussed and the results of what we discussed, suppose that this was a pointless divergence from the main topic, that there was really nothing going on here. You may wonder why I bothered to cover it. But as we'll see when we get to our summary at the end of this lecture, I really think it's actually quite important and reflects well on Plato that he considers these different aspects of his theory, that he tries to step out of his paradigmatic model of applying knowledge in perceptual categorization to think about a wider understanding of knowledge. It's important that he tries to understand both true opinion and false opinion, or accurate judgment and inaccurate judgment, both in the context of perceptual categorization and outside that context, in part because of the people that he's trying to address, the other positions that he wants to respond to, but in part because it reflects a deeper understanding of what he's trying to accomplish, and I'll detail that a little bit later on. For now, let's turn our attention to the candidate theory that we dropped when we went into our little discussion of the possible sources or models for false judgment. So recall, Theaetetus had offered up a second theory about knowledge, where knowledge was equated with true opinion. And after considering the aviary, posing the problem that the aviary doesn't actually solve the problem of using a perfect definitive knowledge of a category to categorize, but rather brings that problem inside the brain. Now, the problem now becomes, how could you possibly be wrong about the knowledge that you're accessing and categorizing? Whereas before it was, given your knowledge, how could you be wrong about the categorizations that you perform? So here we find the discussants picking up this idea that knowledge is true opinion again. And they reject it fairly quickly. They say, look, knowledge can't just be true opinion, because we can have true opinion for seemingly epistemically blameworthy, or at least not praiseworthy reasons. That is, we can seem to have a true opinion that doesn't look very admirable or very praiseworthy from an epistemic perspective. And the example that we find Socrates offering up is this idea that you form a true belief on the basis of trickery on the part of a smooth orator. In other words, you form a belief, but the reasons that you have for your belief aren't particularly likely to make your belief true, or the process by which you form the belief isn't particularly reliable across different cases of its application, and so on. And so the idea here is that just having a true belief isn't what really distinguishes praiseworthy from blameworthy or neutral states within epistemology, precisely because there's got to be something else, something that gives you confidence in the opinion, since you can't oftentimes really know of its truth or falsity, at least in the immediate circumstance. So just to keep the lecture a little bit light, I note that in Raphael's painting here, we have this fellow who seems to have fallen down, and so I couldn't resist a little joke here. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. So the discussants move from knowledge as true opinion to a version of that theory that tries to address the inadequacy of mere true opinion. Right? So accidentally true beliefs, accidentally correct judgments, they don't seem to be the sort of thing that we'd want. Right? So if you're going to ask somebody for help on your homework assignment, you don't want to ask somebody who you know has been lucky in the past. You want to ask somebody who knows or understands what they're doing. Right? And so this is the shift between knowledge equals true opinion to knowledge equals true opinion with a rational account or explanation. And so the discussants move on to consider this notion that knowledge is true opinion together with a rational account. And Socrates motivates this as being the difference between the person misled by the slick orator and the person who genuinely knows. The group then proceeds to consider 3 different theories of a rational account. So if knowledge is true opinion together with a rational account, then what would count? What is a good rational account, and how does it differentiate accidentally true opinion or correct judgment from systematic and informed opinion, true opinion, and correct judgment? And so the first view that they look at is the view that a rational account is an image or verbal expression of the mind. In other words, you can give reasons for why you categorize things as you do, reasons for why you have the opinion that you have. And Socrates rejects this idea because he says it excludes no one. And the idea is pretty straightforward. Everybody has reasons for their judgments. And so just having a reason for your judgment doesn't differentiate judgments that have good reasons from judgments that have bad reasons, judgments that have compelling or reasons that are likely to make them true or more likely to be true from their opposites. And so for this reason, the discussants reject that first version of what counts as a rational account. And we'll pick up the second version in the next lecture module.